All right, we're going to get started this morning. Thank you so much for joining us in our latest installment of Solutions for Success. My name is Jonathan Hamilton. I am the president at Point Alliance. I will be joined by a number of people. We'll wait and bring up some slides to introduce them. But very exciting topic today. You've heard us talk in these sessions about Microsoft Teams and all the value there. You've heard us talk about Microsoft Teams Phone and extending your Teams environment. Well, we're going to take that one step further today with Microsoft Teams Phone Mobile and talk about how this can be a fully integrated environment for your hybrid workforce and their cell phones and their Microsoft Teams experience. So lots of great content. Because of that, we're going to go 60 minutes today as opposed to our usual 30. So hopefully you've got a coffee or a sandwich by your side because we've got lots of content, great content to present. It will not only be done by Point Alliance, but Rogers and Microsoft, and who knows what sort of other guest appearances may join us. But without further ado, I will turn it over to John Zeri to get us started.
Not at your desk? No problem. Today's business happens on the go, with meetings and collaborations on the fly, wherever you are. Almost 70% of Canadian organizations are evolving to accommodate hybrid work. Now Rogers Business is making it all easier, with just one number. With Microsoft Teams Phone Mobile from Rogers Business, when someone dials your wireless number, a call is initiated to all your Teams-enabled devices, like smartphones, tablets, and desktops, with simultaneous ringing. Answer on any device or retrieve call logs and voicemails later on all platforms. Start a meeting at your desk, move over to a smartphone, and end on your tablet, without dropping the call. Plus, your status is automatically updated across devices. Rogers is the first telecommunications provider in the world to launch Microsoft Teams Phone Mobile. We're working together to help Canadians adapt to hybrid work while reducing costs. Without the expenses of fixed hardware and phone lines, you can easily scale operations as needed, while controlling everything from a central hub. Voice calls are made over the Rogers 5G network, giving you an enhanced calling experience.
Hello and good morning. Thank you everyone for attending today's session. We are very excited about this topic. Again, Team is as one of the fastest growing software ever with the Team Phone, as Jonathan mentioned, and now with the all-in-one with one number. So we are fortunate to have Nelson from Microsoft and Jeremy from Rogers to help us with today's presentation. We're going to go through a bunch of slides, and then after that, we're going to go to give you a live demo and then discuss next step and so on. So just for those that are not familiar with the Point Alliance, we are a Microsoft Modern Workplace Solution designation organization. We heavily focus on the Microsoft Cloud and cloud technology. Our team is dedicated to Microsoft technology. We are 100% Microsoft certified, and you can find additional information about us. For today's session, again, my name is John Zeri. You can find additional information. We will be posting the presentation and recording of this thing on our YouTube channel. So we will send you information after that. Again, that's information on me. You can also find Jonathan Hamilton on the LinkedIn as well. So to start today's presentation, we are fortunate to have Nelson Salazar from Microsoft. He's a Microsoft veteran and head of the telco within Microsoft. So let him to jump in here and go through the slides here. Good morning, Nelson. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, John. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Really appreciate it. Again, Nelson Salazar. I'm a director within the Global Partner Solutions Americas organization. Our team manages our strategic partnerships with our carriers, telcos, or operators, however you want to call them, across the Americas. In fact, a good colleague of mine, teammate of mine, Marina Percy is my colleague that manages strategic partnership with Rogers, and our team collectively, helps our telco partners deliver these types of solutions to our enterprise customer base, right? So small, medium, and large. So from and I know the conversation here is around Teams and specifically Teams Phone Mobile, and more specifically Teams Phone Mobile in the small, medium business space. So why Teams Phone Mobile? It is something we've just recently launched as a company, working closely with our global operators to deliver this into your markets. And a couple of the things that we look at is how do we help customers get to modern, right? So there's a lot of legacy systems out there, telephony systems out there that are just old, right? And we're looking at helping us and our telecommunications partners are looking at helping our customers to bring those systems and be able to leverage the existing investments that they've already bought. For example, you've already procured Microsoft Teams, being able to leverage those investments in bringing your telephony solution to current state cloud voice, right? Thirdly, of course, simplicity, right? Everything's integrated, simple, one number that you can work with, working closely with your carrier, such as Rogers as an example, and being able to have one single number to be able to carry that through, around all day long, right? And it'll be, carried across all your devices and so on. Seamless integration for you with just one number. And then, of course, the seamless user experience, right? So making secure phone calls, receiving secure phone calls, being able to do your call control, basic call controls that you would expect as a business owner to be able to cascade out to your employees, transferring calls, being able to take calls across your numerous devices by just having Teams and Teams Phone Mobile on your phone, and of course being able to transfer across networks, right? The seamless integration that you working with your carrier can solidify across your team. And then the management, right? Simplicity for you as a business owner, as a small business, or even a large business, right? Streamlined management across your entire estate and your employees, and working together with your carrier partner to be able to implement those management administrative rights into across both wireline and wireless environments. So if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to put that in chat. I'm happy to answer questions in chat as my esteemed colleague over here from Rogers is about to take over the helm. But yes, go ahead and please ask questions. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Nelson. This is fantastic. Like one of those exciting things that it makes so much sense to have one number, right? Because again, the whole idea of the Microsoft to be able to work no matter where you are, from home, on transit, or at the office, or using any device. So this just makes sense to have a one number that you can be reached. Why do I need to have multiple numbers, right? And that's phenomenal. And we are lucky to be joined by Jeremy Brasso from the Rogers Communication. Thank you so much for being here. Jeremy has all the answers, not to put you on the spot, but he's been great to help us to kind of put this thing, the system together. And it just, they just work so well together. And I'll let Jeremy to go through what's involved and so on, and tell you more about it. one of the questions before I let you to start your slides, and we have one question. Number one question people ask: does the phone mobile manage SMS? And that's one of the number one thing that in the past when we were trying to implement Microsoft Team Phone, that was a one big hang up that people had to say, okay, does it do SMS? And you said, well, not really. And they said, okay, no need to look at. So right now there's no other reason not to work with Microsoft and Rogers and take advantage of this thing. You know, it just makes sense. So that's it. I send it over to you, Jeremy, and you just let me know and I'll walk you through the slides.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for having us today. We really appreciate the time. So again, I'm Jeremy Barassa. I call myself the father of Teams Phone Mobile in Canada because I've been working on this project since its very inception. Rogers has actually been doing fixed mobile convergence, which is the type of technology used here, for over 6 years. So we were very fortunate to be at the forefront of helping work with Microsoft to share our network and to design this together, which is part of the partnership we'll talk about throughout this call. So today we're going to talk about the move from rigid to resilient hybrid work, and we're going to talk about Teams Phone Mobile. As a first responder in my other life on weekends as a member of the Ski Patrol, I really like the aspects of the rigid and resilience. And we're going to talk a lot today just about how this opens up a completely new path in terms of use cases. And Nelson and John mentioned it briefly, but we're going to get into a little bit more detail as we go through this on how it can affect each of your individual businesses. So we'll talk a little bit about 365 and Teams and Phone just for some review. And then towards the end, we're going to get into some demos. And then we'll also talk about some of my favorite use cases. So I'd like to make it personal and talk about stories that are resilient, that talk about our own experiences. So you'll hear about me dropping a cell phone in a lake and how we dealt with that with Teams Phone Mobile and a few others towards the end. Next. So there are many challenges that we're facing in communications today, but three particular ones that I wanted to spend some time on today was solution fragmentation, hybrid work, and hardware and support costs. So as we move into the post-COVID world, we've done a lot of transition to the cloud, and many of the customers that we work with every day, they've long ago made their decision to move to Teams Voice, but that's left fragmentation as it relates to the wireless piece of this. So many of us have had experiences with using either direct routing or calling plan or Operator Connect with a number loaded into an app on our cell phone for convenience, but that was a separate number. You didn't have the integration or the redundancy that's brought by having the same physical number in your Apple device, whether Teams is logged in or not. And that really is a focus point of what the solution does. So why that affects hybrid work and why that's so important is that the frontline workers that use cell phones, they kind of didn't get the same level of innovation over the course of our move to the cloud in the last 5 years in communications. Cell phones haven't changed that much. And although there's things you can bolt on that are a little bit nicer today, some of the enhanced voicemail options or the new visual voicemail from Apple, they're still limited compared to a true PBX solution. So things like centralized management of caller ID, the ability to have centralized and compliant voicemail for all your solutions in one place, or even when we think about solutions like Copilot, just having all the data in one location, that's not possible with wireless historically. So for the first time ever using Teams Phone Mobile in conjunction with the Rogers solution, we can bring all of your data related to phone calls for an entire business, including its native cell phone calls, into a single pane of glass. With hybrid work, obviously, we're supercharging the capability of those remote workers that use a cell phone by giving them all the flexibility and capabilities of a Teams experience, things like voicemail, caller ID control, and more, and the redundancy of being able to say, listen, my cell phone's not available. I can log into teams.microsoft.com and I'm back in service. And then finally, hardware and support costs. A lot of the stuff we're doing today, we see a lot of employee cases that have cell phone over here and physical plastic over there with a separate number. So not only are you buying two solutions for a customer or a user, but you're also having to support two separate solutions. Usually it's two different disciplines. And if you think about IT structures in historical terms, usually I had somebody more in the billing or the finance side of the business that would manage your cell phones, and then IT would be separated from that, managing soft phones and PBX solutions. Now you can bring that all under one roof, and with doing so, you're reducing the complexity of the support, and you're making the hardware burden much less because you can choose a one-team solution across the board, whether it's cell phone or not. Next one. So with this, as part of our goals towards building Teams Phone Mobile, prior to that starting, Microsoft and Rogers approached each other and developed a relationship. To build a Teams Phone Mobile solution, you need to have access to a working real mobile network to build it. It's not simple to do to mimic a network without having the experience of an actual carrier. So we were honored to be brought to the table in early inception to help assist Microsoft with not only access to our network for data and prototyping, but also to make recommendations about how we operate as a carrier and to help Microsoft learn about the wireless elements and what are specific things that you as customers need into consideration. So with that, we've been working and modernizing applications together, first with launching Operator Connect, tied for first in the world. And that really established our partnership. And then later on, coming forward with Teams Phone Mobile. That continues forward. So earlier, John mentioned SMS. So I can actually tell you that I get to work on that technology with Microsoft. So Nelson's team will reach out to us to ask questions specific about how does this work on the network side with MMS and how's it different on SMS? So that relationship continues, and it's one that we expect to be for the next 5 years and beyond. And it's really focused on giving Microsoft the ability to tap into a carrier and learn from experience direct. And the same for us to learn more about Microsoft and how their UC evolution is really changing the nature of how business works. With over 50% of businesses now either intending to or already moved to a Teams voice solution in that plus 100 customer space, I mean, it's out there and everybody needs to understand it. So I'm fortunate that as part of our partnership, if I want to learn about something that's coming down the line and understand how it's going to affect us as Rogers, Microsoft's standing right there as part of that partnership. And the same is true of them when they need to learn how does SMS work in a carrier, other examples like that. With that comes not only the ability for us to work together in a collaborative way of design, but it also means that we have the ability to be very creative when it comes to the customer lens. So we can look back and forth on both sides of the solution, focusing on you as the customer in the middle and making sure you get the best outcomes. Next one. So grounded history of first, like I mentioned, we were the first ones in Canada to do Operator Connect, tied for first in the world, and similarly with Teams Phone Mobile. A lot of people go, wow, how have you been able to stay at pace with larger carriers in other countries like Telekom Deutschland and Verizon? And the answer is that Rogers was first a cable company and then moved into the wireless space, but we never had a legacy burden that would be similar to some of the other top tier carriers in Canada. So for us, we started with a wireless network first, and then we've built out solutions such as our Cisco solutions in the past, or today Teams Phone Mobile on Microsoft, because we didn't have that old system to deal with. We didn't have Avayas and Nortels and legacy infrastructure, which at times has been challenging because we wish we could sell that to some of our customers. But the freedom to not have that legacy to deal with has allowed us to really stay focused on innovation and looking at not where we came from. We obviously use that for lesson purposes, but where we're going and not having to worry so much about the past because we weren't as heavily involved in it. So as a wireless carrier that's brought innovations ranging from bringing the iPhone first to Canada to many other solutions since, we're continuing to use that history of first in wireless and with the partnership with Microsoft, able to achieve those together. So we did start with direct routing initially. We've been available to offer that for some time, and that's built on SIP pedigree that we've had in market for large business for over a decade, and we consider ourselves very versed at it. And we were able to leverage that same technology and very quickly deploy Operator Connect, which is a much simpler solution, both of them offering voice to the platform, but Operator Connect being the Microsoft embedded solution that offers a lot of benefits over some of the historical models. So we're the top cloud solution provider in Canada with over 35,000 customers today. With very, we have everything from simple voice implementations to very complex Microsoft implementations. Next. So for those of you that haven't looked closely at Teams Phone, this is just a very quick thing to remind all of you of the power of bringing Teams as your UC solution for all things. Obviously, it's got all of the group chat experience that we're both enjoying today on this call together, as well as all the online meetings, the integration with all the app ecosystem that's available, enterprise-grade security that we can trust across all Microsoft applications and data stores, and then finally, the UC component where I live and breathe and my favorite part of it. So today, I don't have to have multiple layered solutions. I can truly say unified communications, which, by the way, started as a nomenclature that came from Outlook way back in the day with Microsoft, which was first iteration unified communications was the ability to have voicemail to email. How far we've come to the point where we're at today. Now, unified communications is bringing all of the different methods that you can use through this Microsoft lens to work with customers into a single pane of glass, single reporting interface, an intuitive interface. So the training, when you launch somebody into voice that's already been using Teams, it's a snap because all you're adding is a dial pad to an existing well-understood workplace. Next one. So more productive from anywhere with the device. Obviously, remote work with Teams has significantly improved even before considering Teams Phone Mobile. Bringing Teams Phone Mobile into it makes it more redundant and allows it to work across multiple different network types, including when data is not available, giving you ultimate flexibility. You can secure your business by making sure that everything that you do flows through MFA and uses the best in class that Microsoft offers, making sure there's no holes or gaps that are based on aging solutions. Everything is tight, everything is patched, everything has their monthly patch Tuesdays. You can count on Microsoft to always be on top of their security elements. And because we're bringing our phone number into Microsoft, we inherit all of that benefit into the solution at Rogers. And obviously cost effective. If you got an E5 today and you don't have a phone number on it, you're missing out. You've already paid for the dial pad. You just got that one last piece, and now you can start making phone calls. So by taking the UC solution that you've already invested in M365 and throwing voice into it, now you've really created a best value because you're not buying a full separate phone system, administering it separately. So as I mentioned earlier about reducing costs, it's also the individual cost to the user of not having to purchase potentially multiple numbers or multiple systems. And obviously productivity. If you're using Teams all day long, using it for one extra task becomes a lot more intuitive than swivel chairing to a different application. Next one. Okay, so talking a little bit more about Teams Phone again. So obviously this is a cloud-based phone system that's going to attach to your existing Teams infrastructure. For those of you that haven't started that journey, it's very easy to make the jump from an existing Teams ecosystem to adding phone numbers into it. PSTN dial-in takes away the need for secondary systems and makes Teams your focal point in everything that you do. So it simplifies business processes because you're not swivel chairing from one place to another. Whether you're chatting, talking internally, on a conference call like we're on today, or making a phone call, your eyes stay in the same place on the screen. You take advantage of the same accessories if you're using any. So you really have a fully integrated solution where that Teams brand, that logo, can go from the desktop to the thing that you're wearing on your head and everything in between for a really cohesive solution that once you've set up your Teams, you can add things to it without having to go back through an integration process from scratch, assessing a new application, trying out new hardware, etc. Next. So 4 options for Teams. There's 3 existing ones. Obviously, today we want to focus in on Teams Phone Mobile as an additional. I highly encourage all of you to study all 4 options as they all have a place in the future of Teams. There's no one solution that can do it all, and there's always a reason to consider each of these. Where Teams Phone Mobile is unique, obviously, is in its ability to create redundancy where that number not only is in Teams, but it's also on your wireless. So say you have no access to any form of data. Historically, with the operator connect direct routing and calling plan, that would mean you can't be logged into Teams. That means calls will go to voicemail and they'll be treated by forwarding or other methods, but you won't have the ability to interact directly with those calls without having some access to the internet. And it's one of the benefits of this whole solution, but when it comes to business continuity, it can also be a challenge in certain environments to secure good, reliable internet, especially when those difficult days can come. With Teams Phone Mobile, in the example of a city, for example, you can have all your fire chief and senior people, same with police, EMS, frontline stuff I'm definitely aware of as a frontline person myself. And then you have a phone number that's always there, it's always reliable. If there's any catastrophic impact on the internet or elsewhere, down the chain towards Teams, you're insulated from it. So some of our customers, as they move more and more services into this single solution to get all these benefits, I think they're a little nervous about going, well, what if something major happens to the internet that I personally can't control? Well, now what you can do is you can still have that same solution, but target specific critical users and give them something fully redundant, where the wireless is there no matter what. And that way, if you do need to fall to a fallback, it's built into the solution by design. There's no need to go in anywhere and send me forwarding or anything like that. They're already redundant because that cell phone's designed to work no matter what. So again, here we have an existing ecosystem of different options. You're going to mix and match these. And what I want everybody to take away from this slide is a simple fact that it's not one solution that's going to fit. You may need multiples, and it's designed to do that. We have customers that have 4 or 5 different operators for different countries around the world, direct routing solutions for local premise equipment, and Teams Phone Mobile, all configured and working well together. And because of the way that Microsoft takes ownership of federating that experience in the blue box up top where it says M365, these all get bolted on and they do an incredibly good job of connecting them all together. But you as the customer don't see the complexity behind the scenes. It's there, but to you it's streamlined, it's easy to use, and you have no idea how much they have to jump through hoops to connect all these things together. in the short amount of time it takes for a customer call to be successful. Next. So this is some of the key features of Teams Phone Mobile that I'd like to just hit on. First and foremost, receiving calls from your native dialer. This allows you to effectively completely shut off Teams and still make and receive calls from a voice over LTE network. So if I'm flying to a third world country that's going to a rural area, like I want to go hike the Annapurna Circuit up to Everest, I may have some signal at places, but my data is going to be sporadic at best. I could travel through that country using my traditional roaming methods on my cell phone, hitting whatever tower I can find, even an old 3G one, and still be able to make and receive calls on that same unique number, right? So that ability to completely eliminate data from the equation and even to take that internationally really stands out as a flexibility element that anytime any service requires the internet, you have to plan for that extra layer. Now you can say, you know what, internet's just not going to be a really good idea there, but communications are important. And with Teams Phone Mobile, I don't have to count on that as a sole source. Moving calls back and forth between the two is just as easy as what you've done in the past, where you may start a call on your smartphone and then move it to your desktop by simply opening up Teams and transferring it. That same seamless integration exists with this too. So I can start a call on my Android or Apple native dialer, realize that I need to send a transfer to Nelson and I want to use Teams to do it because it's a more rich environment. I can open up Teams and a pop-up will say uplift call to Teams. And now I can do everything with the full power of Teams without dropping that call that started as a straight wireless call in the first place. Giving you the ability to choose the experience depending on the access to internet at that time and the type of call that you're doing. So a straight cell phone call is all some people need. Other people want to start off all their calls where you can determine that it'll ring the Teams first always if you choose to do that for people that are in an office, for example. So with uplift that I just mentioned in item 3 here, it allows you to uplift on the same device because the biggest trick with wireless integration is I've got a cell phone dialer and I've got a Teams dialer. How do I make that not collide? What happens if they both rang at the same time? The user gets confused. So with Microsoft, we have the ability to change how that call comes in depending on your particular use case, all driven by policies in the portal. Number 4, combined history and access to the native mobile dialer. So what this does is now if I receive a call in Teams or I receive a call on my cell phone, it's harmonizing the information between both systems so you can know what calls you've handled and on what system. That also means that all of your CDRs are going to exist in the Teams database, meaning that anything you do from a Power BI perspective or any other reporting about call detail records, you can get the whole picture. You can get every cell phone call and every call on your other devices all in one place for the first time. Number 5, presence integration. This allows me to be on a call on my cell phone and others to be aware of the fact that I'm on that call so they know not to disturb me. The integration goes deep enough that your cell phone being off hook will tell Teams that you're actually on a call. It's all done without you needing to do anything, even if the app isn't running on the phone at that time. Number 6, bringing the voicemail together. So if you haven't used Teams voicemail before, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's a very, very powerful interface. It's very easy to use. And this now becomes your cell phone's voicemail. So historically, you've paid extra for other cell phone solutions for voicemail, like enhanced or visual. You can get rid of all those and switch to a really rich Teams system that you're already paying for as part of that license for your Teams experience. Now the voicemail that you hear internally will be the same one you hear on your cell phone. Enterprise-grade calling policies and compliance. So again, we have the ability to choose whether we want calls to go to native for mission-critical workers that are in the field, or to go to Teams for people that are in a Wi-Fi environment that need the collaborative capabilities. Number 8, show mobile on a company's main numbers. So now I can have somebody that's on call, or say a delivery driver or an installer. They can make a call out from their regular Apple or Android device and have it show up with the caller ID if you're choosing using policies in Teams Admin. So I can put the auto attendant number for, say, a support queue and call out from my cell phone, and they'll see the auto attendant number in case they need to call back, making sure they call back the right person and get the best service while keeping your number in a more semi-private state. You want to use it, but you want to be able to hide that private number because it's really not where people should be calling back in distress, for example. Number 9, add mobile number to company call queues and legacy phone services. So this is something that I'm very, very happy that is continuing to develop out further. So imagine, if you will, that you have a queue that you have in place for, say, support or sales. That queue today requires people to be logged into Teams for it to function. If they lose their login to Teams, as in the data goes down, then they no longer have the ability to receive that call. While they're in the process of launching it, it'll be out in early 2024, that queues can now be backed up by native wireless. So I have my actual cell phone number on my cell, even if Teams crashes, I can still receive calls from the queue. So if I lose data, I can still support the team remotely and still be part of the queue as long as I have my voice over LTE running. It'll pick up the presence that you're actually not on a call and still deliver to a queue-like model, which is a new innovation that really makes me excited because a queue can only work if you're logged in. This allows you to make your cell phone redundant as a backup should the queue not be accessible. And then finally, reliable calling. And we talked about this a lot as I went through. You can go over VoLTE, you can go over data. You always have multiple options at your disposal, giving you much more flexibility, not only by the device, but the fact that you can always just go to teams.microsoft.com and achieve the same goal, right? You always say, if you can get to your login somewhere, you get to your number equally. Next. Okay, so then use cases, and we'll go through these quickly because I want to leave lots of time for questions and demos. So these are some of my favorite personal ones. So first and foremost, let's say that you need to call Nelson and he's tired of spam. So he doesn't answer calls if he doesn't recognize the number, which, by the way, is becoming a lot more of a common habit for many of us these days. If I don't recognize the number, I'm not going to call it. So historically, let's say that I had a cell phone, but I also had a Teams number, but it was a different number, which is what other carriers can offer today, right? You can get a direct routing number on an app and then log in and use it. Well, let's say that Nelson only knows my cell phone number, so it's the only one he's going to answer. Historically, if you had a second number, this is a problem because they don't recognize it when you're calling out from another entity. Well, I can drop my cell phone in the lake, realize I've got 5 minutes to get on that call, run into the cottage, open my laptop, go to teams.microsoft.com, and I can call, and he's going to see that same number that he's expecting coming through on that call. So we have that trust there that's important as a number becomes part of your identity, especially in a world filled with spam. So I'm not relying on that one network, but more importantly, I'm not relying on my cell phone. Because if you've ever lost a cell phone in business and all your contacts are on it and you don't have access to internet for a little while, it really does leave you gutted and feeling like you have no way to contact the world. So this gives you an immediate backup solution anywhere from a Starbucks to your cottage that you can find internet access with any other device that you can get your hands on, even a public one like in a hotel lobby. Next. Again, I actually already hit this one, so just to talk about it again briefly, I love the ability to call out and provide a customer with the right number to call me back if they need help. And in a lot of cases, that's an auto attendant or a queue, not your direct cell phone, right? We want people to get the right service and to not be misunderstood. And I know when I was in a younger career and I worked on call a lot, I would always look to use some other form of calling to avoid giving out my cell phone number so they didn't call it at 2 a.m. thinking I was on call because it wasn't for that purpose. So this gives you the ability now to set policies in advance for different types of workers, delivery drivers, first responders, support workers, anybody like that where you want to make sure that they can go back to a team of resources instead of an individual. This becomes really key. Next. The recording, one of my favorites. So a little known feature that is now available is Microsoft does an incredible job of creating hooks into their system with Teams to have PSTN recording solutions. So these are solutions that instead of recording our internal calls like we could do today by hitting record, these are for the calls to the outside world, the calls that go over 10-digit numbers. Historically, it's been almost impossible to record mobile devices. And that becomes something that a lot, finance, medical, order taking, there's a lot of industries that could really benefit from the accuracy of having a recording available. That's historically been kind of an impossibility with wireless devices and very difficult to come up with. Because Teams does such a good job of having these interfaces to record, we've decided, let's see if we can do it with mobile as well. And sure enough, it works perfectly. So we've already certified with 2 different providers, Dubber and AC Technologies, but I haven't got authority that most of them would all work because the way that they take advantage of PSTN recording as an add-on solution is seamless in terms of how it would apply as well to Teams Phone Mobile, because all of Teams Phone Mobile is really built on the DNA of Operator Connect, which is fully certified to do it. So we inherited the ability to do something I've wanted to do in wireless for the 6 years I've been with Rogers. It was always impossible just by adding the Teams Phone into the Microsoft equation, because now they had a rich ecosystem of recording solutions already ready to go. We just had to point them at this new number, and it didn't see any differently and works flawlessly. So what are the applications for that? Well, medical accuracy, if you're doing it on the phone, you need it recorded. Finance industry, if you're, say, a finance person that works for a bank and you're trying to do a stock quote over the phone, 2 weeks later, the customer says, hey, I said 25 shares, you did 50. So there's a lot of cases where accuracy is really important, and the front lines have always been left behind in that regard. So this really brings them into the forefront. And then the final one. So safety and education. One of the school boards out west that we worked with Teams Phone Mobile very early on had made the decision that their safety protocol and their communications protocols for the schools were going to really be modernized. What they wanted to do was two things. One, think about personal safety for their students and their school staff. And second, reduce the amount of domain switching or distraction that was affecting the students. So for all of you that have been in, a school in Canada, especially in the 80s or before, paging was just constant, especially between classes. There would always be paging going off. And anytime you have a paging situation where there's education involved, everybody stops what they're doing, pays attention to the page, and then has to switch back to their previous task or domain switch. And it does have really an effect on some people. Not all. There are some that they definitely struggle with them. For those that do, with having phones in teachers' pockets that are supercharged by all the benefits of Teams, they can really limit the amount of noise that has to happen and go straight to somebody as needed. Apologies for calling me and I got pulled away. I just back. I'm sorry. I'm just going to put myself on Do Not Disturb so they stop doing that. I was trying to mute them and it took me away. Here, Do Not Disturb. There we go. So now I have the ability to put a phone in their hand that's portable. So if there is, God forbid, ever any kind of an incident, they can move around flexibly and use that phone on multiple networks and communicate silently through multiple methods, ranging from SMS to Teams chat, while not losing the benefits of having a PBX embedded solution. So they can walk into an office environment, sit down at a Teams phone and hotel in their number and get the full experience of a Teams phone when they need it, and then log it back out and go back to cell phone mode as they go back to the class to teach their students. Next. So very quickly to go over some of our business advantage stuff, and I want to make sure we leave room here. There's quite a few slides, so we're going to run through some of these pretty quick. We know Microsoft very well, so we understand Teams Phone Mobile and Operator Connect intimately. Our ideal state is we want to work very closely with partners such as SmartPoint Alliance and have very close relations with Microsoft, so that we're not only bringing you a partnership, interesting and exciting new technologies, but the pedigree that goes along with it to really understand who to call, how to approach issues, and how to make sure you get the best outcomes from both Microsoft and Rogers and Point Alliance when working on any of these issues. Without good support, every solution does fall apart in IT. We all know that. So we spend a lot of time, myself being an ex-ops person as well, on making sure that when you call in, we've taken the time and care to make sure that that experience is going to be a positive one. Next.
To bring us to the demo page, again, for interest of time.
So yeah.
Okay, so again, I like this slide because I didn't know Team Phone can do that, and I'm a big fan of it. I do get into some demo sessions with the clients, and they're kind of wondering, okay, who works for what, and are you a Microsoft employee? I am not. So to show you this live, we have set up the whole environment here with the help of Jeremy and Roger's team to showcase you what we have. So I'm just going to move into as we mentioned, in the browser mode. You can see just like you would assign a number in the existing way with the Teams phone. The person received the notification, oh, the number has been assigned to you. And if I now move into my Teams environment, I'm going to just make this one a bit larger so everybody can see. You can see I have my dial pad, as Jeremy mentioned, because the person has the right licenses. And this is not a discussion about licenses. We can have that separately. And what's it set up. But the important thing is that, as Jeremy mentioned, you just need an E5 license that it's already have a phone system built into it. You do not need a calling plan. And that's a beautiful thing about this thing, that the calling plan comes from your Rogers subscription. So again, we have the dial pad, we have a number, and just to kind of make this demo more interesting, I'm going to just bring my phone into, and you can kind of see exactly what's happening here. So I'm going to bring this one up, and it's syncing with my phone. So this is the phone we're using, and I also want to thank our partner Wireless DNA for providing us with the demo phones to be able to do this thing. And I was very brave last night. I put the iOS 17 on this last night, hoping, okay, just make sure it doesn't break, and it does not break anything. And of course, one of the things the question was asked right off the bat. I'm gonna start with that. If is it possible to do text messaging, right? So what I will do, this is on the text. I'm gonna go to another device here and start do the texting. Again, we only have one number. You will see that shortly. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say put a text, and you can see right off the bat, this is a native text message within the iOS device. Again, this is not the iMessages. This is a normal text messages. This user doesn't even have a what do you call it? By purpose, we did not even set up the iCloud or those things. So you know for sure this is just a text message, a normal text message, and the person can communicate back and forth. So let's just go into the Teams on my device here, and you can see if I go on the device as well, you can see is loading right now. So I'm gonna go to my other test device and dial the number. As you can see, if I dial the number here, you can see it is ringing on my phone here on the native dialer, and also you have that on the browser here that said Ben is calling you. So again, it is that easy. One number everywhere, and you can use this. So we're just gonna hang up here 1 second. So what I'm gonna do, and Ben was mentioning about Jeremy was mentioning about the fact of that there are two of the same, right? So I'm gonna go here right now and use the native dialer again. I'm gonna go dial the number. So I'm gonna go, and this is my favorite number to dial for testing, by the way. Pizza. Those are the best. Yes. So I'm gonna make a call here. And let me just change this thing. Okay, again, so I hang up here. So I hang up, and if I go back to my listing here on the call history on the Teams, you can see the previous call was from Ben. Now this shows outgoing call that I made to the 967-1111. So again, not to get you hungry, so I was trying to order some pizza here. So that's the beauty of the whole thing. Or if I decide to make a call here, I can do the same thing from my browser. This is truly bringing the whole thing together, that regardless of where you are, what device you're using, you be able to kind of complete your task. And again, let's just do this. And if you look at the top of here, I'm gonna click on join and transfer to this device. And now, by transferring that, I was able to transfer the call from my desktop to my phone. And that's what we were talking about. So seamlessly, you can go from one device to other one and vice versa. So if I was making a call from this, and all with one number. So again, that's want to kind of showcase that as well. That said, I don't want to, again, we have talked about this and all the great stuff about this. So I just want to open up if there is any question that we can answer. There was a question here that said, does this require a hardware subscription? There is no hardware. Like, again, it's your device. So again, I'm not sure if I understand that or not. But there is no hardware. This is your existing phone. Again, as we mentioned, Rogers is an exclusive communication company in Canada that does this. So again, if you're already a Rogers customer, that can be set up to enable you for this future. If you are not, is a good reason to move to Rogers right now. They have excellent incentive to have you to move to a company that's more advanced with technology and also can integrate with the Microsoft Teams, one phone number. Again, lots of benefit to that. And one of the things I mentioned earlier, that it was always a question, but how does the text messaging work? And of course, that's very important. And I think we were able to showcase that. One thing that if I'm not wrong, it is coming soon. is the fact of that you also be able to have a tab here to see your text messages on the Microsoft Teams. I know that's on a roadmap. I don't know what's the date on that, but that's also coming in the near future. That said, just go a couple of more slides here if that we're gonna go through. So what's the next step? Again, let us work with you and set the roadmap for you, so you can scan that QR code on your screen and just fill up the form, and we'll be happy to work with you and to kind of go through the process of what is involved. We have done the process ourselves to make sure we are very versed with it from start to finish, and it is truly was easy to do again. And the Point Alliance will be able to assist you with that. Some additional information on the Teams Phone Mobile info sheet. And again, as I said, we will share in this presentation on our website, and the video will be on the Point Alliance YouTube channel. You can check that at youtube.com/Point Alliance. And also there's a Gartner report you can on this topic. Next, I want to thank you all for attending today's session. I want to thank Microsoft, Rogers, and our hardware supplier, Wireless DNA, to help us with the devices for our test. We run these events on the monthly basis every Tuesday of each month. I know we need to move to this one because of us make sure that we have speakers available. So we hope that we see you at the future events. And also, if you did enjoy today's session, please leave us a review. Just you can scan this and leave us a review. But we are here to help you through this journey, through the Microsoft journey, and get you on the Teams Phone Mobile. And again, I want to thank Nelson and Jeremy again for taking time out of their busy schedule. I know how busy they are to be here today. And any closing remarks, Nelson or Jeremy?
No, I really appreciate it. And if there's any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to John and the team, and he knows how to get a hold of myself and of course my teammate Lorena. But yeah, I think you're in great hands with Jeremy and Rogers. They're a fantastic and very strategic partner for us as well. So really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. I know how busy you are, and
it's my pleasure.
Yeah, and Jeremy.
Yeah, I would just close with, as a proud Canadian, we're one of few countries in the world that have access to this technology this early. So for all of you that are on the geeky side like me, this is a chance to really be able to participate in the future early, even on the world stage. So I encourage all of you to work with Point Alliance to check it out further, and have a great day. Thanks again for having us.
Thank you all for being here today. We are very excited about this thing. I couldn't wait for today to showcase this to you. And again, we'd be happy to provide the personal demo if you want to share this with your team. We have the whole live environment set up, right? This is not a click-through demo. This is a live production that could be your system next month. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, John. Thanks, everyone.